Irashaimase. Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this Saturday we have Blackbird, a dark-themed Fantasy Zone style shoot 'em up recently released on the Switch. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. Blackbird from Japanese indie developer Onion Games is currently available on the Nintendo Switch and is coming to Steam on October 31st. Rather appropriate as the game itself has this rather dark theme, which I feel is really appropriate to the Halloween season. So the game itself is relatively bare bones in menu options. We do have an online leaderboard, which is really nice, a practice mode that you can use to practice any stages you've unlocked, and then the game start. When you start the game, you're normally taken right into the game until you've completed the game in normal mode. What is normal mode? And then you would unlock true mode. We'll just take a quick look at the game in normal mode as I go and explain what kind of game it is. So first, after we load, we have this real short little cutscene which kind of fills in our story. Basically, we play the role of the sad role, unfortunately, of this girl who has died. And in this callous world, nobody really even stops to check on her or anything, save for this old gentleman who just comes, pokes her with the cane, and walks on. But suddenly she transforms into this egg and is reincarnated as the Blackbird, a great calamity spoken of in legend of this kingdom. So the game itself plays like a Defender or a Fantasy Zone style game, more closely related to Fantasy Zone, where we can move, scroll the screen both left and right, and move our ship, or rather our bird, either direction. We can only go and fire, at least initially, left and right. And we've got a couple different attack options. We have the ability to shoot, and we have a bomb that we can use as well. There are power-ups and ways that we can level up our character, though. So as we defeat enemies, you might notice that green crystals fly out of them. Those green crystals will be of certain sizes. If they happen to bounce on the ground, they'll get smaller, but if we collect enough of them, then we'll level up. Most enemies will drop them, small ones when destroyed, but some will drop larger ones. As we collect them, you'll notice that there's a green circle that encircles our Blackbird. As the circle comes to completion from collecting enough gems, we level up and get stronger. Now we have a bomb attack that will hit enemies on the ground, as well as a slightly powerful shot. So that's what we want to do. We want to be able to destroy the enemies and collect the power-ups and the gems to level ourselves up. There are also other power-ups that we can collect throughout the course of our playthrough in pots, which are usually hidden throughout the stage. Like this one right here is hidden in the ground. If we destroy the pot, then we'll get a power-up out of it, and we can shoot the power-up to change it between one of three power-ups: the life power-up, the speed power-up, and the bomb power-up. I'm going to take another speed power-up just so we can get to a certain amount of speed. Like Gradius, for example, I really like having two speed power-ups, as I feel that gives you just the right amount of maneuverability. And in this case, it actually helps quite a bit to be able to move faster, so we can actually get to the gems that much faster. Now that we've actually fully powered up, I'll start collecting additional bomb power-ups. So the game itself, as I mentioned, plays like a Fantasy Zone. So we have all these towers that we have to destroy throughout the course of the stage, and I've been destroying them as I've been talking. Once you destroy all the towers, then these sirens start going off, and you basically have summoned we've summoned the boss battle. Blonde. So this boss battle is really interesting, as we start out with all these balloons rising up at us. They will deal damage should they happen to hit us. One thing to note for your hitbox, it's the eye of the Blackbird itself, so it's really visible and easy to note where your hitbox is at all times. I do really appreciate that. This boss is multi-staged, as most of the bosses in this game are. Now that we've destroyed his balloon phase, he will charge at us, and if you're playing in true mode, there's a higher difficulty to the enemies that you're fighting, including the bosses. So, in normal mode though, it's relatively trivial, like we've destroyed the boss, and bam, he blows up into all these crystals, which we can hopefully collect fast enough. No, not quite enough to level up yet another time. Then you get results based off of how well you performed. The faster you finish the stage, the more enemies you've killed, the higher your result will be. So there are combo mechanics that are present in the game. As you destroy enemies, you'll go and build your combo meter to greater and greater effect. And once you're at max combo, which since there are multiple enemies, we'll try and build that up, you can unleash your bombs to really great effect. So I'll see if I can properly show that off. We'll just run through the stage. Now that we're at max bomb, let's see if we can find a lot of enemies and set off, or rather max combo, set off our bomb. We got a needle bomb, and that results in extra crystals that we can pick up and hopefully use to level ourselves up. So as the stages progress, we get harder and harder, or rather like more unique enemies which will attack in different ways. So the enemies in this stage, a fun little like stock enemy there. The enemies in this stage will attack in bullets, where the enemies in the first stage were attacking us with simply using arrows. Still, the same like general rules apply. We go through, destroy the towers to summon the boss, as well as taking out as many enemies as we can. Hopefully finding secrets so we can obtain bombs, additional like life ups so we can take more hits, and lots of points. As we progress, harder and harder enemies will start to show up, like this one here, but they're also worth quite a few gems once we destroy them. Get him, grab another bomb. And it's boss time. And a rather unique boss, I must say. So this is a mechanical chicken which will throw these balls that'll bounce around. And as we shoot the balls, the more times we shoot them, the smaller they'll get. Oh, we did get hit there. So you do power down a little bit when you get hit. It's disappointing. That's not a feature that I like in any shoot 'em up, but it's usually not too hard, provided you don't die, to get yourself back to about the level that you were at before. There are some boss fights where you can turn yourself left and right, others where you cannot. So it's a little inconsistent that way. It just depends on the scope of the boss fight. The smaller bosses, like the first and second stage ones, you can't turn yourself, though past that you can. So the game itself is relatively short in terms of stage number. There are only 4 stages in the game. In between each stage we have these cutscenes that are kind of showing something involving the girl that we are. But as I mentioned, once you complete the game in normal mode, you'll unlock the true mode, which increases the difficulty, as well as unlocks the ability to get different endings, of which the game has up to 8 endings, which is phenomenal, and definitely intrigues me even more about this title. At this point, I have not unlocked any of the additional endings myself yet, but I'll definitely keep on trying to get to the point where I can and see more of what this game has to offer. So let's get to the plus flavors and the minus flavors of Blackbird. So as far as the minus flavors are concerned, really if there was any failing that I would go and give it, it's just the few number of stages it has. Not even like the length of them, as the length actually feels really good, but just the number of stages. As far as like plus flavors, this game definitely has tons. The mystery of it all, the just bizarre nature, what's going on with the Calamity and the girl that we are who passed away, the additional endings, the secrets that we can go and get, all of it really, really intrigues me, and I want to know more of what this game has to it. Another massive plus flavor is this game is just gorgeous from a pixel art perspective. There's no stage that goes and shows that off better, in my opinion, than the one that we're currently in. Neo Lumina. You can just see all this stuff going on in the background. There's so much beautiful detail added to this world. It's a really, really neat game that way. So, as I went and mentioned, this is one that's currently available on the Nintendo Switch and coming to Steam on October 31st. So, if you've liked what you've seen at all, I highly encourage that you give this game a look, as it's definitely one that I feel is worth your time if you like darker themed shoot-'em-ups or Fantasy Zone Defender style shoot-'em-ups as well. Alright, well, that'll just about wrap it up for this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me this week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.